What's going on, everyone? Astrologer Eric Rosen for From Chaos to Clarity. This is Celestial Conversations. This is the weekly astrology horoscope. I said it backwards, very little Gemini flip there, but this is the weekly horoscope, of course, where I go into the cosmos, talk about the major transits that are coming up for the week. It's a big one. We've got Saturn entering into Aries. We're in Gemini season now. We're going to have a new moon in Gemini by the end of the week. Of course, when I mention the week, this is talking about from Wednesday till the following Tuesday. So this is from May 20th to May 27th. Thanks so much for being here. I do this show because, we're going through the change, right? We're already going through it. Especially the mutable energy of Gemini now. It's like we have to take this, I think, more seriously with the details, the circumstances of our life, and especially Saturn coming to the beginning of the zodiac with Neptune and Aries. We've got to start really initiating and taking things seriously. And so a lot of the potentiality that exists with all this fire and air energy that we have is about self-leadership, having conversations, really making things happen. It's more of a masculine bravado energy of like doing things, in order to attain the desired results. It's not going to be about snoozing, sleeping in, being hesitant, kind of staying in this old reality that we've left, where all the pieces haven't like settled fully, but we have to look at this in terms of like whatever it is that you want, whatever it is you're trying to figure out. It's about new approaches to this. It's not about staying in the old approach, the old way of doing things. And so this is very much deals with having the conversations that need to be had, knowing the spiritual identity of self, knowing how to really have your intuition developed and on point is a big one. But also the conversations, the tech piece, even the AI piece. And I know a lot of people are still hesitant to that right now, and say it's creepy and things like that. But it's something that's going to be very much continuing to integrate into society. And there's benefits to us using it. And so we can kind of, get on the caboose of this thing, but the train's moving, jump on it. So, but before I get into this weekly astrology, of course, if you want to get a personal astrology reading, I'm going to have a link down below for that booking after this airs, as well as some other offerings too. I got the astrology ebook. I've got a text service follow-up for people that have already done readings with me. They've got some questions, or if you just have an astrology technical question, you've already been studying it, but you don't want to do like a full-blown reading. You just want to consult with an astrologer, and it's something really personal to you, something you're going through, or something about your natal chart that it's just a little bit too cookie cutter generic to use Google or ChatGPT, AI to find it out. I'll have that master link down below for that as well. So the big news this week is Saturn coming into Aries. This is the first time that we've seen this in about 30 years. And we have not seen a Saturn-Neptune conjunction in our lives. And of course, it's not going to be the exact conjunction, right? Conjunction where planets combine their energies together for that full potency. And so Saturn coming to that 0 degree of Aries, that very innocent degree of Aries, it takes a minute to kind of feel into like, whoa, like we're at the start of the zodiac. It's fresh, it's new, it's innocent. It's kind of that Fool card in the tarot. If you understand like the, what's this? It's a little bit more of a simpleton mindset. But with Saturn, there has to be a wiseness to it. There has to be wisdom to it. And I think the wisdom in it, when you combine the Neptune piece of it, is that spiritual avatar that I've mentioned previously. It's like knowing what is your identity of self, but from a very spiritual standpoint. That spiritual avatar, it's not just like the actions that you're taking, the decisions that you're making, the directions that you're going in. It's also, is your intuition developed and actually allowing you to go in a direction that feels in integrity with who you really are. And so I would highly recommend during this time taking all the steps to feel like you're very solid in your spiritual connection, because with all this air fire energy, it's a lot about pivoting and needing to make quick changes that make sense logically, like thinking through it, but we can't also like overthink it and get afraid and procrastinate on like the move to make. It's almost like one of those things where we have to kind of find that beautiful, perfect spiritual blend of intuition, action, insight mentally, relying on the intelligence still, where we're not trying to like over collect data and facts of things, because that's what produces the hesitation, the procrastination. And so developing into this really, because it can become such a complex formula, it's really about knowing your intuitive side of yourself. It's about understanding that there is a spiritual essence that governs you, that goes beyond just the ego, the free will part of things. And that any actions that are taking more from the blind side, like of the ego, it's probably coming from just that, a blind side of fear, maybe like a suppressed sensitivity, like reactivity, or just not taking the action at all and just like hoping that maybe the responsibility like shifts to something that we're not paying attention to, like paying attention to like putting the accountability outside of ourselves. This is where this really becomes this deep spiritual understanding that in order to be your best self, in order to get the things that you want, you have to take full accountability and responsibility for that. And so that's, a radical departure from maybe some of the reactivity to some of the things that have been going on in the world, especially the past 5 years. And so we have to kind of start to see this as a lens of like, okay, all the Gemini energy, right? Gemini season, the new moon that's coming, it's making aspects to that Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. It's like the circumstances are what they are, the world is what it is, but it's like if we take that accountability, we know thyself, we have that intuition developed, it's going to allow us to solve the problems and find simple solutions that actually aren't really that above our heads for whatever it is that it is showing up. And so that's everything. That's our relationship situations, our money situations, right? Work, business, especially with Venus in Aries, which that Saturn's not going to catch up with that. That's for sure. If anything, Venus will catch up with it, months from now. But it is an understanding that there is a self-nurturing piece to this with Ceres also at the beginning of the zodiac in Aries, where it's like, take a moment here on the 24th, officially when Saturn comes into Aries. And of course, it's not going to stay there. Well, actually, excuse me, it is. It's going to keep marching forward. It's Neptune that's actually going to retrograde back into Pisces this year. But it is this understanding that you get familiar with it, right? It's like you get familiar with going, okay, like, am I wearing a costume? Am I wearing a mask? Am I seeing things clearly? Am I seeing things in a headstrong way that's actually kind of like creates a sense of fogginess and a sense of idealism of what we want to be doing, who we are, what we want to have happen? It's kind of a sensitive acceptance that can even be reluctant, because it's a lot of personal responsibility. That new moon in Gemini, it is an opportunity to go, okay, like, in order to make things happen, we got to talk it out. We got to be having communications, the people that being willing to listen, being willing to kind of drop in and find that divine spark within ourselves that allows us to see that, yeah, sure, things can be, complicated. Maybe there's like groups of people that we want to connect to. Maybe there's a desire for more social nature, which is a good thing, right? Because all the air and fire energy, it's a very extroverted energy. It's very much like not, reclusing. That North Node is still going to be in Pisces. So there is a spiritual like flow and synchronicity to it. It's not the South Node and Virgo thing of just like have all these conversations and just go out and like try to force and make things happen and spend every waking moment of the day like chasing some idealistic spiritual goal, trying to change the circumstances. it's more about paying attention. It is that self-awareness to be guided by our higher selves, that higher light. So that's where that intuition development, having that on point comes in. But it might take a minute to kind of update the software, if you will. I mean, to think that Saturn is closing out another 30-year cycle with the zodiac and coming to the start of it, and with Neptune and having never seen that before, you know, we don't know fully, right? We don't really know until we're in it, until we're becoming it, we're steeped in it, we're immersed in it. I do think, though, that it's going to require action. It's going to require a sense of bravery, a sense of self-leadership, right? That accountability, responsibility part. So I think that it's an inauguration like energy for those that are willing to, you could say, fight, right? It's Aries, like fight for a cause that feels like dear to you in terms of the direction that you want to go in. This is not the astrology that favors people that kind of just like more want to like kick back and relax and kind of see how things play out. Uranus being at the end of Taurus, not coming into Gemini until July, but it's like a reminder that it is Uranus when it comes into Gemini, that it's like, it's the historical conflicts that we always like talk about, World War II, Civil War, Revolutionary War. But it was like, if you really dig into the history of things, it's like, it wasn't like everyone took up arms, right? There was a lot of people that were kind of like, I don't want to say neutral in the middle, but sort of just like not really polarized like one way or the other. And so this is actually a good thing to find some sense of polarity for like what you stand for, but not so much from a social agenda standpoint of like jumping on a bandwagon. It's more about dropping in, still do things like meditating, go for walks, right? Gemini's about our local environment. It's like jump in the car and take a trip to the store and, you know, kind of see what wants to come through, like shift the pace, shift the environment for just insight that kind of, I would say, disconnects from some of the stuff that hasn't revealed itself fully, like in the exact details and nature of like where the world's going, but then also kind of like sensing and understanding and mentally accepting like, okay, you know, AI is doing its thing and it's not some fad, you know, that we just stop talking about. It's going to revolutionize everything, you know. Same thing with a lot of technical advancements, and that's a very long-term thing over this next 18 years of Pluto and Aquarius. But with this Gemini energy, this Gemini new moon making aspects of that Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, it's like, well, you know, what changes can we start to make more in our personal life around this? And it doesn't have to be like this doom and gloom, like AI took my job, you know, like type thing, or how's AI gonna affect it from more of a fear-based standpoint. It's more about, you know, it's not about getting on like a bandwagon, so to speak, because a lot of people that are maybe pro AI may see it as like a gold rush or something, or like an opportunity for exploitation. I think we have to see it more as a very sophisticated tool, and just tech in general, of like, how does it change the way that we interact with the world, the way that we communicate? You know, how does it affect your job, business? Like doing the research on that, not being, you know, lazy or lackadaisical and just like waiting to figure that out. Yeah, to the mix that Mercury's also coming into Gemini, which is one of its home signs this week. It's like the communication, the curiosity just like really needs to be there. And so these are opportunities for soul growth, I would say, in a practical way, like really starting this week, where it's like, it's not so much the healing piece, sitting on the meditation pillow for hours a day and kind of like taking a step back from the intense energy of the world. I posted a meme yesterday. For those that remember, because I use a lot of pop culture stuff, there was a show Beavis and Butthead on MTV, and it's like Beavis, like if he would see fire, like on TV or in the world, he'd be like, fire, 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 you know, and he would like get this like sort of excited, you know, dorky, dumb energy. And like when you look at these transits and them sitting on the couch and just sitting around watching the TV, it's kind of like that, you know, like you could say the average person is just like wanting to see some drama, see some intensity, see some fire, but like watching it from the couch and the TV screen and, you know, all the TikTok videos and the reels and just all the things. But it's more so about how do you start pouring that passion, that fire intensity into something that you're empathetic to and that you care about. And if you're already doing that, it's like going more full throttle with it and trusting that the governor of not going too fast is going to be the intuition, like warning, warning, like don't go too far, like don't burn yourself out, don't burn other people with your communication, and just, you could say, being too assertive and not finding what's actually an integrity of asserting the egoic self and like getting in people's like faces, right? It's more about showing up for that right balance of driving your point home, of showing up as that person. And so whatever is going on like in your life, like it's personal relationships, it's business, it's jobs, it's everything, it's coming at it from that mindset. So when it comes to the sun signs, because I'm going to do some sun sign work here, sun rising, and you could throw your moon sign in, although with all the fire and air energy and it being so like outward, you know, the moon's more internal, like lunar, so you can use that if you want, but I would say it's focusing more on sun rising sign, like how do these major transits impact that? How is Saturn impacting you coming into Aries? How is especially the conjunction with Neptune, but also this new moon in Gemini, so I'm going to get into that. So for Aries, like this is about the strength of you and the integrity of you and your spiritual avatar. Do you know how to assert that side of yourself? And then the communication, new moon Gemini, Mercury and Gemini piece of it with Jupiter, by the way, it's like, do you know how to like effectively communicate and listen from that standpoint and know how to take in information from the world and not so much let the environment around you shape the understanding of how you think about things or like what you believe, but more so like taking it in stride and then still taking time to reflect later on to process that information so that there's not like emotional reactions to the circumstances. For Taurus, this is about you making a deep solidification to, I would say, your spiritual mission, Saturn, Neptune in Aries. And maybe you feel like you've already been on that, but this is about renewing that vow, renewing that intense, like masculine, like energy to ride the highs and the lows of like what those commitments are. Know that this, you know, spirit universe has your back, but you're gonna need the vehicle of your creativity. That new moon in Gemini, Mercury, Jupiter is in your second house, so you need that solid ground, you need that solid footing as a Taurus to actually be curious and be stimulated and be creating things that actually feel fun, free, and easy and don't require a bunch of crazy effort. Ideally, that 12th house Aries intuition is very much like guiding you forward, and you can get the signs and the synchronicities and feel when your energy feels high and when it feels low or stimulated or understimulated, and let that be the guiding light for the divine timing of when you're taking action, when you're communicating things, and know that that communication piece is a major part of your creations. When it comes to Gemini, you're going to need people, community. There's no doubt about it. Like understanding your role, your leadership in society, that Saturn, Neptune in the 11th house. And so this new moon in Gemini being in your sign with that Mercury, with Jupiter it's really about, you know who you are. Like, this is just a refresher. This is just a, you know, kind of bravado in yourself to be like, I'm a very intelligent person and I've got really cool things to talk about and share with people. And so it's like, draw that energy in, like draw a crowd, like with these transits, like make it happen by actually putting yourself in places in society that see you, understand you, that are also stimulated and curious by what you have to say, but then also vice versa, like too, like make sure that you're still getting an understanding and learning about where people are at so that you can be effective in how you help others. When it comes to Cancer, this Saturn meeting with Neptune, it's in your 10th house. And so that Saturn moving out of your 9th house, so it's like you've done the research, you've been establishing the belief, the philosophy that needs to be in more integrity. Now this is about boots to the ground, like really making it happen. What's the mountain you're going to climb? And if you already know that, I think you need to gauge like where you're at. This is like the career ladder. This could even be a sense of destiny, purpose, and like honestly a call to take more risk, like face the fears, put yourself out there, like really take a stand and really own that power and that identification that's in a way where there's still a softening in how you wield that big stick of that power and that intensity and how you put yourself out in the world. But this is also with Gemini being your 12th house, that is that empathy, it is that compassion. So you're actually the poster child for all this air fire energy that we're moving into, that's very masculine, and like empathy can like take a back seat, or it's like hiding in the back of the theater. Like you're the one that still reminds people to do that, but it's also about being the embodiment of it, like the energetic embodiment of it as you show up in the room, wherever it is that you are. It's not about like pushing it or forcing it onto other people. It's about the magnetism of it, right? You ain't gotta be like, I don't know, like Mother Teresa, Princess Diana or something, it's like, I mean, it's funny because it's like Saturn in Aries, that would have been back in 95. So that probably would have been around the times of Mother Teresa, Princess Diana, if I'm not mistaken. But it's like, you don't need to be like that level of feminine softness. You still got to know like what the boundaries are for things, but it's not about using the power to be judgmental and being too harsh on people and too critical, because then that's a reflection of where maybe you just need to be more the embodiment of what it is that you're preaching. When it comes to Leos, Saturn meeting with Neptune and Aries in your 9th house, this is about a really beautiful expansion of your beliefs from a more positive sense of things. But you're also here to kind of be the person that, talks about your worldview from a place that isn't like too rosy or too optimistic. Like it's still grounded in reality, like, and it's simple, and you communicate it like from that place. It's about addressing how other people see the world, how you see the world, just sort of like one step at a time, and not getting overwhelmed with sensitivities or too much idealistic like thinking of things. Like if it's not actually showing up as abundance, positivity in your reality, then the optimism's not really grounded. And so you have to really pay attention to that. And it's about bringing that understanding to society, with Gemini being your 11th house, for this new moon in Gemini is happening. Mercury coming here as well. And of course, Jupiter is here. So it is about bringing those understandings to people. So I think you're in a good position where people around you may be like curious about like what to think about what's going on in the world, or like there's a desire to have like more conversations for understanding, and people not wanting to be so charged in like one side of like thinking of social issues than the other. And so you're here to kind of be a role model and demonstrate, based upon what's going on in your personal life and how you see things, to kind of roll out the red carpet and help people be stimulated in their understanding and inspire their thinking. Not so much like exactly what to think, but more offerings, more service-based incentives for how to think, but also still not like pushing like this is the perfect spiritual system or like the way to think, but also taking ownership for how it's actually brought value into your life. So we're on to Virgos. So Virgos, Aries being your 8th house, Saturn Neptune meeting here. This is intense energy. This is about you really committing to your passions, that it's maybe a little bit, got some wind blowing through the house, slamming doors. Maybe you're closing some doors, Virgo. I don't know. But it's like, it's about the intensity, the passion for the metaphorical aspect of like, what are you willing to die for? But that's still a little bit like too sensational. It's like, it's Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces. It's like, you don't have to make everything like do or die, but like you can sort of like really commit to that understanding of like, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm really committed to, and I'm going to see it to the other side, but also still paying attention to making sure that it's not coming from a place of fear. Trying to prove yourself to others is really a big one with this Gemini new moon that's happening with Mercury and Jupiter being there. That's in your 10th house. And so this is the place of like, it's not about proving. It's like you get the trophy just based upon the facts that you've been putting in the effort, that you're demonstrating your passion and your excellence for whatever it is that you're committed to. And so this could bring up like career, financial aspects of things, the power circle that you travel in. But it's like, definitely don't abuse the power, sweep things under the rug, keep secrets in order to make things like look good or acceptable, because the facts eventually like will come out. You'll feel better if you're just being in integrity and representing truth, and then it's like people will notice. So I would stick with that, Virgo. When it comes to Libras, Aries is your 7th house of relationships. Go figure. So Saturn, Neptune meeting here. Saturn coming into Aries for the first time in 30 years. This is sort of a wake-up call to be like, what's really going on in your relationships? It's a hard one, Libras, because you're having to re-identify your spiritual avatar, your identity through your relationships. And so you have to really look at the situations that need accountability for, is there peace, harmony, balance in those partnerships? It's not about escaping from it or running from it or blaming, pushing people away, or the flip-flop of like wanting to draw people closer when you're afraid of the sensitivities. It's really about effective communication, right? You're in a really good position, the poster child for conscious communication. I would look up maybe some information or some books on what conscious communication looks like. That way that you can make sure that as sensitivities and relationships and communications are coming up, that you're taking responsibility and accountability for the role that you play. And the more that you do that in yourself, the more that olive branch is just naturally extended into your relationships. Gemini is your 9th house, so that new moon happening here with Mercury, with Jupiter. It's really not so much about the story. It's the neutrality on it. And that's where the conscious communication and the understanding in your relationships comes in, because you want to be in a place of curiosity around what's the story, not asserting what the exact story or narrative is, just in any area of life, but especially relationships, where it's like you're looking at it from a lens of like, okay, I'm curious, I'm stimulated, I'm excited. This is growth. This is growth for your mindset, for your understanding about I'm expanding my horizons in the way that I see things, that I perceive things, and even sometimes have to accept things, especially in those relationships. So, see, we're on to Scorpio. Scorpio, Saturn, entering your 6th house of Aries. It's a get it done energy, get her done. With Neptune there, I think you have to just make sure that you're still fact checking, that it's not just like busybody work, that the things that you're doing in your day-to-day life, your routine, that it's effective. There's actually an effectiveness to it. Like, it makes sense. Like, you're creating a routine and a rhythm that's like simple, not avoidant, like really paying attention to your stress levels, what your body can actually handle, not shying away from those things. Gemini is your 8th house where this new moon is happening with that Mercury, Jupiter. So you're going to want to turn the intensity on, and that's not a bad thing. So it's just about the passion and the intensity for the things that make sense. When you're doing the things that just like make sense in your reality and you're pouring that passion in and going all in, this is great, because that's a sense of renewal where it's like you have more in the tank. You won't get burned out so easily, and you can feel more like a Scorpio, you know, again, if you haven't been feeling it fully, where like you have enough in the tank and the vitality and the passion. So doing the right things isn't so much about like the edginess of I'm just going to go do this just because, you know, it gives me like that quick orgasmic release, literally or metaphorically speaking. It's literally about you doing the things that you're getting energy back because you're actually satisfying your work life, your reality. This is about work, finance situations, creating the rhythm, doing the things that make sense in order to receive the return, the ROI on your investment for the work. And it will work. And the only way that it won't work if you're not getting your ROI, that's where you have to fact check and pivot and go, maybe I'm doing the wrong things, or I have to change the system. I have to change the approach. So we're on a Sagittarius, Saturn coming into your 5th house of love, right? Romance, creativity, children, even your inner child. Saturn meeting with Neptune. It's really interesting because you got to make sure that you're not being the Sag. It's like, you know, you've explored so many things, you know so many things, you have a huge knowledge base. Make sure that you're actually being okay if you need to understand the operational frequency spiritually of your inner child. This could be like reparenting sensitivities. Like, yes, you need to play, but you also need to make sure that the inner child isn't like getting bored and like wanting to take over and kind of like escape from things. This is about more of a maturity of that reparenting to make sure that there's a deep commitment on a deep spiritual stand front, that if you put your passion, your creativity into things that really matter to you, your romantic partnerships, kids if you have them, just all your creations, that the inner child will be more satisfied like from it, right? It's kind of like your child's like, I want, you know, chocolate syrup on my waffles this morning, and then I just want to go do this and this thing and like frolic and do whatever I want. It's like, but then there's a crash that comes later. And so it's about that maturity to actually do the things that like make sense, like from the moment that the sun rises till the sun sets, and the rhythm of your day, that you're making those mature decisions, and that like you'll find time to play like as you see things working out well, especially in relationships, that you'll see that there'll be opportunities for breaks, or that you've got your work done for the day. That Gemini new moon is in your you've got, well, let's talk about this Aries a little bit more, because you really want to make sure that like there's a solid nature to, like, that it's not coming from like an ego based like standpoint, that you're actually like going like in the direction that it's not going to like fizzle out. So Gemini energy is actually your 7th house. And so that's where those relationships come in big time. So you want to make sure that you're going into things with curiosity, the communication standpoint of things, which is what makes you great as a Sag, right? It's your curiosity to explore and have conversations. And so this is just a really basic renewal, and things feel more balanced, like diplomatic, like the inner child's in check, like your passion's there, you're having conversations in your relationships, thinking, weighing things out, your circumstances. So I would definitely be thinking about adjustments, pivots that need to be made to the level of drama versus passion. You want to go for more passion, and like going to bed, or like when the sun sets, and feeling like so fulfilled because you followed your passion, not so much like the drama, of like, I'm stressed and I can't sleep, and I'm feeling like I need another adventure because you were committed to like sort of the wrong thinking or conversations of the things that you're doing throughout the day. When it comes to Capricorns, Aries is your fourth house, your family, your home life, your foundation, your emotional life. So Saturn coming here, meeting with Neptune, is definitely about your personal life in that way. So this brings up, past 17 years, Pluto went through your sign. It's out now, right? It's in your second house of creativity and self-worth stuff. So it's like, it's okay, Capricorn, if it feels like you're rebuilding your foundation. It reminds me of like Mel Gibson. He's a Capricorn. It's like he's one of those people, like his home burned down, in Malibu with the fires out in California, and it's like Hollywood pushed him out, but it's like he's shown up in a few places again. Is talking about making movies again, and maybe like a Passion of the Christ 2 and things like that. So it's like he's an example of someone like rebuilding the foundation, right? It's not that he's any less valuable because he's had some challenges or setbacks. So Capricorn, you have to like look at it like that to make sure that like Saturn in your fourth house doesn't become like, you wish life felt like skimming pebbles, on the ocean, and things felt lighter and freer and easier in your emotional life. And when you're reflecting, that it's more like throwing a rock. Saturn's heavy in it, but it's like not being like a rock that sinks to the bottom. It's like, throw the rock, let it sink to the bottom of the thing that like you don't really need to like take responsibility for. It's like you can't respond and react to every single sensitivity and emotion that comes up. You can't sink down to the bottom of the pond, the lake, the ocean, like with the rock. And then you feel like you can't like pull yourself back up again. So it's like you got to really pay attention to those sensitivities, that Saturn on Neptune. It's good energy for getting emotional support, like not feeling like you do it alone. It's like having, what are the loyalties of the people that want to see you succeed, like in your foundation, that still have that backing for you. Gemini is your sixth house, that day-to-day life. So lots of communication, the new moon here with Jupiter, Mercury. It's looking at it like you got to have like conversations about like what's like really going on, especially emotionally. It's not about stressing yourself out and like over talking the thoughts and the emotions and like actually creating maybe more confusion. I think this is a good practice, a good renewal, to be very succinct in how you communicate your thoughts and emotions, to actually like figure out what is it that you really need to change in your daily life, your work life, your routine. So all this Gemini being your sixth house, it is like all the work that you're putting in, and it can seem like a lot, but it's just a lot of like little steps, little things you're doing throughout the day to rebuild the foundation, to moderate your emotions, to give space for that. So it's like you kind of got to be on point and not sloppy like with it, letting the mind take over, letting the emotions like take over. So the good news is it's very supportive as long as you're tuning in to yourself and reflecting spiritually, emotionally, intuitively on like what it is that you really like want to be like doing, the things that are actually stimulating that are going to take you to a place that if you just keep doing it, eventually it'll get there. But you got to make sure that you've got a rhythm, a schedule, kind of paying attention to not so much like time, but I would say it's more like your energetic rhythms. It's like the biological time energy rhythms of when to sleep, rest, relax, take a break, and when to work it, when to push it, Capricorn. You're good at that. When it comes to Aquarius, let's see, this is your third house, Aries. So your mind, mindset, mental health. Not really too worried about you as long as you've already been like paying attention to the facts in your life, especially since Neptune entered into Aries, but Saturn's here to help you pay attention, and maybe it's having tough conversations, or depending on where you're at, Aquarius, you got Pluto in your sign. It's like if you need to talk to a therapist, you need to talk to someone, you talk to someone you're familiar with, a sibling, but someone that's not going to sugarcoat shit, that's actually going to like give it to you straight. But you need to kind of be the one like willing to give that too. And so it's like as long as your commitment to excellence is like still having some empathy for the communication and empathy for yourself and receiving communications, I think you're going to be okay. It's going to help you understand things a lot better. Gemini is your fifth house, love, creativity, right? Children. So there's a renewal here. It's Gemini season, that new moon Gemini that also has Jupiter, has Mercury. And so there is, I think, an allowance here for more curiosity of your inner child, like kind of exploring the world through a new lens. Like Pluto's in your sign. It's like you're figuring out how things are going to be new, different, the resets that you're going to be constantly going through. I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself about needing all the dots to connect and needing life to just like pop, especially with Pluto like retrograde. You've got 18 years of Pluto going through your sign. And so the fifth house energy of Gemini can be supportive of the curiosity of like what it is that you love and enjoy to do, and kind of being in this exploratory phase. And so there's a lot, that Aries energy, Saturn, Neptune, it's supporting the curiosity of things. I think your best saving grace is like to not try to have everything all figured out at once. Do you need to bring in more, dance, just kind of playing, frolicking? Like, what are the things that are just like stimulating for you in the moment that kind of like get your mind out of like any like ruts or gutters or challenges and things like that? And even the stuff that maybe you kind of like keep private, or maybe you like disconnect from in order to like still like make things happen. Pluto sniffs those things out. It wants you to be a well-rounded Aquarius, where it's like, this is about learning where you weren't firing on all cylinders and you weren't really the full rebel Aquarius that you are, and to like take care of your mind, take care of your inner child, play, have fun, and make sure that it's shining light on those areas. So it's okay to be more of a youthful sort of energy Aquarius, like you don't need to keep filling the water pitcher for the water bearer that you are to keep helping everyone else. Make sure that you're helping yourself too. There's a give and take cycle with that, give and receive cycle. Finally, we got Pisces. Pisces, I really think that this can be a good time for you with your money, creativity situation. Aries being your second house. Saturn coming here into Aries, first time in 30 years, joining Neptune. You've never seen this. And so I want to call this so much an expansion energy, although it can like kind of feel like that if you are committed to like knowing your worth. Saturn in the second house can be notorious for like, I'm not feeling like worthy. Like, I don't feel like I have the money. So it's like Saturn, Neptune sort of like, hey, like, it's okay to like be a little flashy and get the outfit and take care of your self-worth and your appearance and your identity and the things that like makes you feel good. But you also need to make sure that you're pivoting and reflecting on spiritually, intuitively, how it makes you feel, that it's not just like a facade, because people won't buy it. You know, they'll be like, that thing was spray painted with gold. That's not real gold. Your creations, the things that you do for money. So you need to make sure that there's a spiritual like backing to it. You're not just going out and getting like the trendy designer, you know, purse, outfit or whatever because everyone else is doing it. It's got to be unique to your identity, that it fits you. Now, Gemini is your 4th house where this new moon is happening. So with Jupiter, with Mercury, I think it's a good thing, you know, because it is a place where you can get more familiar with what's going on like the deeper emotional front. Like there's going to be times where part of your daily routine, like your domestic personal life, involves reflecting mentally. I think you're an excellent candidate for like journaling and finding out what's going on with you mentally, emotionally, so that you could identify like what are the steps that you need to take so that you don't feel like you're procrastinating and you can't create that momentum with that Saturn Neptune energy, because you don't want to like just be sitting in the rocking chair, you know, feeling old and like that your worth isn't there, that, you know, you're just like thinking, procrastinating about the things that you like want to do, but then it's producing more, I don't know, sensitivities, isolation, because you're not actually like doing it. So it's about using your personal time to get clarity, to make sure that you're actually taking those steps and building the consistency. And it's tough because it might be a thing where it feels like you're having to reestablish the momentum every day, like when you wake up and initiate the day and like got to do it all over again to get things going. But it's okay, just like find what your routine and your rhythm is that feels effective for you, that's rooted in like your worth and value. Remember, like as a Pisces, it's like you have the spiritual magic to bring the north nodes in your sign, that Pluto is in your 12th house. And so remember, there's spiritual magic. Don't just get lost in just the physicality of things and feel like that you're behind or something. You only become behind if you're not paying attention to the tools at your disposal to help you create what you want to create. So that's a wrap on the sun rising signs for this week of celestial conversations of Saturn entering into Aries, that new moon in Gemini with Jupiter and Mercury. Took a little bit different approach today. Went live on Facebook. Those of you watching the recording other places, feel free to add me on Facebook if you want. It's just my name, Eric Rosen. And you know, the approach today, just the way that it wanted to flow, it's interesting to see how the energy like comes out different, where it's like going live, it's like a little bit shorter version that like wanted to come through the collective transits, but spending a little bit more time on like the sun rising signs. And so, you know, that's just what wanted to channel through today. So of course, if you want to go deeper, you want to get a personal astrology reading, even a couples astrology reading, you got a relationship thing going on, that link will be down below as well. And also that master link for my store on my website for all my other cool offerings, especially that ebook tech service, my 3 and 6 month coaching containers. You know, really I'm here to take people deep that are ready to heal and transcend and create the awesome things that they want to create. So check those offerings out. Appreciate you all, and I will see you